Aje poetete. Hapo baba lilo kuzango paganda we. Hapo baba lile misango paganda we. Pike chishara.
Mari balandilako. Vanakulu. Munshya pipe ya mwanya. Munshya pipe. Ya, arabafia. Balandilako.
Hapo baba lilo misango paganda we. Hapo baba lile misango paganda we. Hello, good evening, Chuempala. Good evening, world. Good evening, all of you that are listening to us tonight. We know that you are spread around the world, and so wherever you are, if it's morning, like our Australia, if it's morning, good morning, and everyone else. I'm here with Dr. Jones Kasonso, and we have a very good program lined up for you tonight. We should have had Honorable Maveta. No, but we don't know what has happened with Honorable Maveta. He's not with us tonight, but we expect him next week. Okay, and so he updates us on what is going on in Parliament and everything else. And so tonight he's not with us, but we miss him already. And so we have a lot to talk about. Dr. Kasonso, the song that was playing.
What was happening?
It's a very popular song. It's known as a Puetete Puetete. It's a song about a gentleman who takes a lot of lutuku, Kachasu. So ume wa lutuku nebo nshimufuaya. Tapo baba misango inerelo. That's the woman who is lamenting about this Lutuku person. And it's very appropriate because apparently there is a headline about Lutuku that has happened in the past 2 days. Are you aware of it?
Oh yes, I am fully aware.
And what was your opinion about it?
I found the minister's actions very inappropriate.
Okay.
Yeah, and but that is before I went to bed. So I was discussing with a doctor colleague of mine who has studies even in the area of gender. We found different problems with that type of conduct. In the pic it didn't portray a very good picture. First, the fact that it was a man pushing a woman to do that kind of a thing. So there was an issue of gender issues there. Yes, gender issues there. And the appropriateness of asking people to take alcohol by force, that was very inappropriate as well. And we could look at it, but overall, the clip was not in good taste. The situation was uncalled for, and it was not necessary. And I was very frustrated. I was very angry about that because that minister is one of my favorites.
Okay.
Yes, and he has been at the forefront of the cause, and we are not doing that away from the cameras, and everything that is happening is going to be on the spotlight, and it's going to be under the scrutiny. So you give them something to talk about without cause. Mm-hmm. So that is one part of the thing, I think. So, but I slept. So by the time I woke up, so I found his apology, which I thought was very, very appropriate and very, very timely. Yeah. So some of the colleagues think, oh no, he should be fired. Or some other people says no, he should resign. I didn't. I know that a lot of people have said that. Some of my favorite people have said that, but I disagree with them on 2 points. Number one, when we put people in public office, we have to be able to realize that they are not every time going to be perfect. They are not going to be angels. We are not appointing angels. We are putting human beings there. So they are going to error. So a person who errs and quickly realizes they've made a mistake and comes back and apologizes, that is leadership. But if manufiro kuna ngushi kubumo abatu wafunyishe po bamambala I sat na alfianye chintu ndo publicly I sat apologize. No. So in muri apology emo mbwene na leadership. Icho chinecho mfumine pali point yako bati yo achite resign o bamutamfe nchito chabashane no mbamwala temakula tamfe afe bonse elo benanga ni ba PF uliani hot egg uli omuntu kulya ba PF mwomfo bapange chongo sana yuba mutamfe bamuchiteshana na chitane fiteyo nchile ndala maka no kulipira because they sold the government air and they want to be paid for that, and that is the guy who was going to show me the work and let's see where you need to get paid. And some of them have not even gone to his office and stuff like that. So there are a lot of mixed messages that can come out of there. So in my opinion, he has done what is appropriate. He should not embarrass the nation or the president, his boss, again like that. Right. He should not even embarrass his supporters like that.
Yeah,
you know, they are. But I think that based on our culture and things that happen where we live, he has led by tendering his apology, and I hope that will be sufficient.
And apology accepted.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
And apologies accepted in Vakasonso.
No, it was totally.
Bantu muntu ngaisa papa tokuba tinali lufyanya kwena kuti waumfo nawe muntu ati yo chachino yo muntu achitashani alombo bwerero Number Gefira teine ni bakasonso balando kwa bati kwaliko a group of a clique of thieves. But even when they made mistakes, beat up people, there's never been an apology. So kanshi, when we compare kwena, when we compare ababa lipo na baba lipo, there is a huge difference, Dr. Kasonso somewhere. You can see because there was one particular minister who during COVID crisis. You know, a minister, and the following day, when we were asking him, how could you do that every day? In fact, I can do more.
Ofwena umuntu wambathi ntubira phone at kasha ama ministers venivale kumbo vyale pamabawo mane abantu mabazi.
Now that aside, in Zambia, Kachasu brewing is illegal for several reasons. One of the reasons is that it's unregulated. So because takwabo kupima how much alcohol you can make, how much in fact a bottle of Vuvualwa contains, and so it is illicit. It's known as an illicit beer. And the other thing is its availability to almost anyone. That is a huge concern. I do think that Kachasu is a health concern to our country, though.
That is correct, Munshya. I think instead of just abolishing it, but therefore chiri chamba inefuninga fsenda. Ichamba, most places around the world, including Kunuturi, kwale boku weka tabalumen no kwa fiampe kotale fiamba le pepa sana fiamba. But bali chita legalize fiamba.
Okay.
Elo bale chita regulate.
Okay. Wakasoso, we need to delve a little bit there.
Yes.
Actually, if you want to legalize, fiambe fiaba very well regulated. If you you know who's producing it, you know what they are putting in it. And the supply chain is clear. Otherwise, if you wakusha in your own backyard and stuff like that, no, that still remains illegal. In Canada.
Yeah, they are. But if munkuchi monakwandi, na if nalole shop for kwabati. Kachasu, nango mubike ba police mind abantu across Zambia. Tamwachite uku kansa Kachasu Zambia. So, in my opinion, this is just a suggestion. It could be wrong. It's better to identify abapanga Kachasu. Baleta nama methods yabo. And you put it in the small scale industry type. No kubigako ama regulations fia pala hygiene findu fabonfyo kupanga filia abamabo alobaba fako kupima and things like that. So kwa batiria product na yena yava raised, if it's possible, yava raised up to the standard of regulated liquor. Mulepima no kupima na percentage yari mo equipment yako yava shinonshiku. Mwapima no kupima ilimo elo bale kuleva no kuileva na package bueno. It could be a small scale industry making a beer which is also regulated both in terms of content and in the methods they are using to make it. So that is the way I would think about it. The Shabasana exposed kuma details uko ifuma Kachasu. So maybe
Now, Dr. Kasonso, I was surprised online today to find several people that were saying that their parent was brewing Kachasu and it helped pay for their education. Now, one of the most interesting things is that I am one of those. Yes. As a matter of fact, one of my childhood, part of my childhood was spent in a home that brewed Kachasu. Along in Choso Street, 66B Choso Street. That's where I spent part of my childhood, and we were brewing Kachasu. So
Yeah.
Yes, Kachasu, yes. So Kachasu helped pay part of my school,
Education.
grade 7 and grade 8.
Yeah.
And so I'm a little bit conflicted because it's very easy for me to look just at myself and say, look at how I have come out to be, 8 degrees, lawyer Gobasungu and stuff like that, right? But I think I need to also recognize that there are several people in my own household or in my own neighborhood that may have been negatively affected by the free supply of the unregulated Kachasu.
Yeah.
And so for me to just say, because it helped me when I was in grade 7 and grade 8, and it provided food on our table. I can hear good feedback. So try to switch on. So I'm wondering whether the feedback is coming from you. All right. Yeah. Okay. So it's very easy for us to just focus on us, on the fact that there are several of us who survived the Kachasu brewing in our childhood. Have we taken time to reflect on others who may not have survived the Kachasu brew and stuff like that? And so it's a very difficult subject, but maybe finding a way to regulate it would be one of the ways. But the thing is, there is no formula. And in fact, even the percentages of Kachasu is different from one port to another. And so because of that, it becomes very dangerous because kutuwa ya mukunwa, Professor, I lost you. Because kutuwa ya mukunwa, and because there is no percentage.
Yeah.
That's what makes it far much more dangerous.
Yes.
Now it's tough to try and regulate it in the compounds and stuff like that. But also we shouldn't ignore the fact that it is a huge health crisis in our country.
Yeah. Inamushwa. Kale kuno kwa America ba doctor. Twali kwete iyo. Abena Kristo bali sai mechintari ntari. Tubuwalo apuleke okunwa, apuleke opulesha okubuwalo.
Yeah.
So baya panga mafunde, aya pulesha okunubuwalo.
The prohibition, yeah.
Prohibition kuno.
Yeah.
As a result of the prohibition, abantu bale nobuwalo mubumfisolo elo bale kolo nokufa bale fa. It increased the deaths of people, alcohol was unregulated, and all of those kind of things. So I think that Kachasu carries a stigma, but also the aspect of Kachasu where it is operating under similar regulations to the prohibition. That is what makes that's what makes it, yes. So, but if you provide a platform on which it can be regulated, both in terms of content, the way they are making it, nama standards, streamlined win. It's actually a valued product that can be used because mulakita import ama spirits na malwa yambi regulated. So nganaba kwata ma skills yofine balupwa bakobati bale panga kuna akachekele panganda. I think instead of going the route of prohibition, let us also attempt research into the possibility of just making it legal and creating standards for brewing that kind of thing.
Right.
Because we're a small-scale brewing industry, and that can continue to help people generate income. They are making a drink. Alcohol yonse po ya perera. Bali mbapo na pali yonse bottle ya alcohol na wine. That according to the Surgeon General, consumption of alcohol leads to health hazards. Take a chance to take out. Yes.
Doctor, I think ubuafya bwa Kachasu ubo bwino bwakuba ati tetumwishibe what exactly you are drinking. That is where the biggest problem is. you can't know what exactly you are drinking. Ile twale panga, twale kumba Kachasu in Choso Street. Takwa yukuishiba, mama. Tetuishibe. So kumfuwa fifu bule umfuika tububukadi. So kwale bati, the first one ileifuma. So kwali ba number 1. So number 1, ileifuma pa first. Then kwaba number 2, kwaba number 3, kwaba number 4. So if you are so after number 4, number 5, it's just water. It's just water. So number 1 was the most lethal. Number 1. Now the issue was number 1 used to differ from one number 1 to another, and
there are no standards.
Who is making one person would make number 1 yapsana with the other person, and so because of that. That was a huge problem. So maybe we need to introduce some standards. Yes, they are going to help. But the havoc that this health thing has created is huge, and I hope that the government is going to find a way to resolve it.
Ninja have Bureau of Standards. If the government would be courageous enough, okay, ninja pavenga abali tungulula tabanwa. So twalala ndilako abanwa. It's industry abwalo. It is a very profitable industry.
Yes.
Yeah. No. So because of that, kunatukwata abantu besoba kwete skill ya kuchita brew. We can introduce in standards and even a license, so that ushikwete license yobaya ikata. So I think that would be a better approach than prohibition. Prohibition na kunokale ya fidirwe muwegesha po prohibition 21st century.
What about the price? Because the cheaper beer is, the more havoc, the more accessible it is. So are we going to ask Lutuku brewers to hike the prices? You know, because yeah, price is very significant. If the price of Lutuku, if Lutuku is readily available to people, then it's going to cause more havoc. And the reason why, in fact, it's illicit is because of its easy accessibility. Anyone can literally do it in their backyard. If it's olea kwa mjomba, I never used to go there, but my guardians, my guardians would sometimes catch me and take me along. But it was a very, very interesting experience. Very, very interesting experience. Yeah, it was a very, very interesting experience. Imagine grade 7, grade 8.
Yeah.
And parts of grade 9. You know. And there's several people on Facebook, Honorable Kangombe Nala and that Nankoine. And I think there is 1 or 2 more guys that have said but I wouldn't really encourage it myself. I think it caused a lot of havoc, and I hope that we can find a way around it.
Imumwewa shinwa pali ishu muichefi. Etelingalomba kofi. Mwewa shinwa pali ishu muichefi. Filemotanda pa mtengo ngato achita involve the Bureau of Standards in my institutions yambe kuchita help regulate these small scale brewers of this at the moment it's illicit, because that illicit word ni legal term. Yeah, so ituku ipangwa under the conditions ya prohibition. As to umtengo, mkwai nenko kwa kukula batu mundu watwale teke nko kwa hapa. Uyu umutengo wakwela kupanono, uyu umutengo nabwe shako. Ili ingili pricing policies of any small business, it's a cost plus method that they use. So what was the cost of brewing this? And then what is the desirable profit margin? Alefa apokubika po umuntu umwine. So, kutiko wako na standards ya prices, because na mfio walwa, kula bati mgo walwa nibumo wini, but ngo ya bunwina a certain place. A certain different place.
The thing is, no. You know why the government had to ban to GDGD in Zambia? Is to GTT still accessible? Even in 1997, 2000, very banning because of accessibility. Those too much sachets, they were easily accessible, so it was illicit. And so accessibility of alcoholic beverages is a health concern in any country.
Yes.
I think that's the major issue with Kachasu. It's its accessibility to literally anyone. Anyone. Old, young people as well as old people. There isn't any restrictions as far as Kachasu is concerned. Children that are born in a Kachasu household, we had to put in our time. Okukumba. Nokututuma. Elo chidevale kutuma chitesevu ababa bomb. Chibom was a bigger thing, chibom. So anwamo or something like that. You are exposed to, it's like a beer, and so you are living in a home, and it's a shabin basically. That is an issue. But some of us came out okay, but there's several others who became casualties of that kind of an environment.
Yes.
And so we need to be realistic about the fact that even if it was providing an economic livelihood for our people, alcohol that is readily available and cheap to literally everyone is a problem.
So that is where I am insisting on this, legalize it, then regulate it. So because if it's legal, then the issue is to regulate it, making sure that the standards are comparable in the way they're making it. Maybe there could even be variety. There could be a brown Kachasu, a green Kachasu, and different kind of standards. So if this Kachasu is able to even give an income to the point where it sponsors an eminent lawyer for the republic, then maybe let's not give an eye blind to the economic viability of the product. And if it is legalized, then it can be regulated. Then standards can be brought in. Now, let's come on a measurements alcohol and stuff like that. The measurements can be brought in. You're creating jobs for scientists and people in that industry as well, where they can be able to put small scale brewers and form a strong industry, and then the product is cleansed, safe, and brought up to speed with the other products that people are able to take in this industry. I think just to dismiss it and shut it down as if we are running a church, not a country, it's wrong.
Yeah, no. I have no problem with abantu abanwa. I have no problem. I have no problem with alcohol, but I do have issues. In countrywide, nearly in all nations, alcohol comes with a warning that that it leads to serious health complications and serious health hazards. We need to have that disclaimer.
Yes.
But I don't see how regulation happens. Okay, so mwafwaya a particular place elo mwachita assign abantu abakumba. Okay, mumwakula kumbira apa, and then you get maybe a regulated buyer who sorts out babapera nga number one area bonse babapera number one, they store it, they measure how much Kachasu is in there, how much alcohol content is there. They try to keep all the illegal ingredients, right? No, from my time there weren't any illegal ingredients. Usually it's sugar. You take sugar na mataba. Then mwaya fisher for at least a week or 2 weeks. Fiachta ferment. In a drum. Distillation method. I do remember the distillation method. Yeah, maybe that can work, but we need to agree as a nation that readily availability of alcohol to children is harmful.
That is where now regulation comes in. Regulation comes in. When we legalize it, we put in organization, and then we put in legalization, regulation. We regulate it. If it's, yeah.
Now,
okay.
I've seen Harry Kalaba has already been to the Shabin, and he's already sympathizing with the family that was found brewing. I think that's pretty dangerous. To use this as a political opportunity is pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And those of us who have that background of growing up in a Kachasu supplied home, even if we spent a year or two in such a home, we need to be honest and say that yes, even if we came out okay, but it destroyed several lives. We need to be realistic about it. And so a politician should not find that as an opportunity to go and do politics. Because then it's going to encourage several other illicit brewers around the country.
Yeah, it's a warning to the people serving in government that they have to take their steps circumspectly, because there are wolves there who are waiting to pounce on ruining their names. Yeah, so it is a good thing if Kalaba has gone there, in my view. If Kalaba has gone there to sympathize with the family, and if he has also given them some money, and I hope they can come out of that trade. And yeah, even if he goes there and sympathize with that family, we don't have an election tomorrow. And, so I don't think that should worry us per se. We have recognized that the minister made a mistake, and the government people have to recognize that they shouldn't be doing such things, because when you're doing good things, and you are portrayed in a bad light. But at the moment, there is not an election even anytime soon. So Kalabanganaya kudena tola kunaka pia chipatwali la konenkoko because vali veti la Kachasu na nishna chitafe wino. Otherwise, there isn't much to worry about. What the substantive issue there is this: ministers cannot conduct themselves that way, and even himself, the ministers recognize it. But we are concerned about the product. The product is harmful to people. What do we do about it? It's not to go there and encourage them. No, cook some more Kachasu and nobody will come there. And that's political irresponsibility. So what we need to do is the government should come up with a policy on that. And the people who do that should also be subjected to a license. And then there can be research conducted on that type of drink and how it can be brought to the level where if it is consumed, it's not harmful to people. So regulation, legalizing, and creating common standards for that product is the way forward, because prohibition, clearly, now when it harmed them, those people, they were harmed because they drank that in a hidden world and probably drank it even with a lot of shame. Although Kachasu, and then he says Kachasu mosi chivuku ne fima spiritual abasungu fimo fine folo nshingwa lumoro inefe takwava drinki ya train nankwe. So
wa mwaka Kachasu wasi yambo si chakolwa
folo nshingwa ne lumoro inefe.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing with Kachasu. Anyway, it's a very, very interesting story to explore. Your background after having. That's why I did not react very quickly to this story. Usually I'm on these stories very because I started asking myself, okay, no kunwanshinwa. You know the funny thing.
Yeah.
But I grew up muri environment. It was a yeah, because no kunung ishaka chasu dayumfwa. when I'm doing what in Kachasu, Lutuku. Very, very interesting. Anyway, we need to move on, Doctor. Now there is an economic summit that has started in Lusaka today. The president opened it. It looks very promising. I hope Kachasu is not on the agenda, but it looks very promising. They are calling it private-public partnership of some sort, Professor Kasonso. And I think they are exploring the very ideas that you've been talking about here on TVBAKWETU. And I think they need to learn a lot. So I'm private-public partnership economic summit in Lusaka. Listen to Dr. Kasonso right here on TVBAKWETU because he's a huge, huge resource economically. What do you have to say about that?
Thank you, Dr. Munshya, for that question. The concept of private-public partnerships is, let's look at it from the angle of enterprise. Enterprise, ifuma kubantu batatu. That's what we've been saying here on TVBAKWETU's one-on-one. The first one is the one who has the idea of the business concept. And the second one is the person who turns that idea into an organization producing that product or service. The second one is the one we call an entrepreneur. The first one we call them an inventor. But we need the third partner, who is the investor, the person who puts in the money. In some cases, muntu umowine uchita. But in many cases, bambia wakwetefeka idea, taba kwatana concept of ngachita organize abantu, but tiba kweteka idea.
Right.
Yeah, I know bonse kuti wakwatama ideas, wafya kusa organize, but ulupia wakwambira taba kwete.
Yeah.
So when you do public-private partnerships, you are trying to bridge the gaps between those so that you can create enterprises that will be robust, that will be funded, whether small scale or large scale. So in some cases, government would be the inventor of the idea because the government would bring in, for example, first of all, the government brings in new licenses for Kachasu. That's the owners of the idea. And then they have to create people around that. So you create an organization around that. Then the private sector would go ahead and form either a corporation or cooperatives that are packaging those things together and bringing in scientific measurements and all those kind of things. So it's a very useful way to kind of bring forth ingenuity and let people develop modalities of generating financial resources.
But the issue, I think, has always been on ownership. You see, in Zambia, we like this thing of owning things. And and the idea comes from, I don't know where we get it, right? But I think such that our concept of ownership sometimes does not go with economic productivity of our ownership. For example, you find but I saw it a lot where umuntu alikuwa tefimioto kapanganda tafibomba but fyakwe. You see that? Ala yumfuati alikuwa tefintu fyakwe. So that's the ownership. Land is the same concept. Zambians are one of the most landed people in the world. In fact, our access to land is far much more superior than nearly the richest countries. And we promote it. We say that we are landowners. We own this, we own that, and we own the other. But the issue is then, how do we become productive? Productivity. Because ownership without productivity is pretty much meaningless. Singapore is one of the wealthiest countries in the world at the moment. And Singaporeans themselves do not have access to land. Hong Kongers themselves do not have access to land. And yet they are one of the most richest countries in the world. And so perhaps the private-public partnerships should interrogate our concepts around land, around ownership, so that we can actually become much more productive. They are, first of all, I want to get your ideas on that one before we go to the next.
Yeah, so I totally agree with you. The notion of just owning stuff, assets that you cannot turn into an economic product to generate revenue is not industry and it's not enterprise. That is unproductivity. What we need in Zambia is a paradigm shift in the way we think about business. First of all, I'll start from the spiritual point of view. In Zambia, the first thing we need to do across many lines is to break the spirit of jealousy. To break the spirit of jealousy. Because the spirit of jealousy in Zambia is so thick that you can't start anything, someone else will come and ruin it. Whether you start a church, you start a little business, or you start, somebody jumps in and they just break it. In societies where split of all the energies. So when we break the spirit of jealousy,
jealous. Ani ngufuatilia sheria jealous ukoto lima Oscar Award winner ba Zambia.
Mwapulani Barbara.
Shani ba Kasosa, how are you?
And I am very well, thank you. So now Vanson Communal, so na tampira ba mupashi wa jealous. So umupashi wa jealous ngatwa udilinga. Then we have to recognize the second thing. Most of the things that generate enterprise or make a profit on business, they require for you to have a team. You cannot win without a team. They require you to develop a working team. A inventor, entrepreneur, na investor, a team of 3 people. Puri pakati apo lecha organizations. Umwino idea li kuyombia kwa etolupia. So mwaikatana pamo. Nga mwaikatana pamo wonse. You achieve what is called synergy. Synergy. Mwadiru mfako edieshi mchewo chako Elias Munshya ati, 1 will chase 1,000, but 2 will chase 10,000.
Nomba kaingi obwafe bwakobati I'm a private public partnerships nangfe just partnerships iringa abantu bapusani na palopia balefo ayo okudia bwangu balefo okwensha bwino and social media I think has added to the pressure, abantu bambona fifio moto ko umuntu alensha tena inendefo ayo kwenshako.
Nkuti baensha, but fruit are measured in good teams na kutsa create synergy. Even teams where we can operate freely mufimbila. Kutuma kwata ko transparency no kwensha po muingesa ensha limi kuti pawani pala pene pa beginning limi kuti pawani kuntanshi. Le some businesses are palo mo pusana. So what we have to do is, even in Valeland, that government and private partnership, the two in the scriptures too cannot work together unless they've agreed. So we need to be able to agree with others that in a talent and but if we bring our thing together in a partnership, we can create something that will have a
how then do you deal with the political fallout? Because private public partnership means mulefo kupango musebo.
Yeah.
Right? For example, in Milenge right now, and I'll come to the story of Milenge and Munia Zulu. Kamunia Zulu kadishiru, Kamunia Zulu kepi. Nomba uwake wakubati na inendi muipi, nomba ine at least amano yatari. Nomba Kamunia Zulu fesi kepi muchimu. Na amano Kamunia Zulu yepi. I'll come to that.
London pumubanga shiabo inisha pose
Yeah, ili shiri abantu shiri momori abantu abepi barishupa.
Bale tsachi mbuya, ni mbuya wawo. Wakuchipata, bale tsachi mbuya.
Mwatushie. No, awe Kamunia Zulu kepi. Ngaine. Nomba ine na Kamunia Zulu tuapsana, panto Kamunia Zulu kena na amano. So there is for example, we need a road to Milenge. Milenge has one of the most deplorable roads. Mapaka Sanka up to Boma. Paka Palala 10 off. It's pretty bad. I was there in January. It was very bad. Now, if we brought private-public partnership, it means then that kwaisa investor apango musebo ero atampo kuchita charge abantu. How will the people of Milenge feel about that? Are we going to pay? Is it going to be economically viable? Is that one of the options that we can explore to have a road in Milenge? The other road that we can have is, because Milenge's closest district is in Ndola, actually. Imagine.
Ndola?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Milenge's closest town is not Mansa. It's in Ndola. 45 kilometers across the Congolese Edico.
Mheshimiwa Munshya. Ngatulepa kufyama heavy infrastructure like emisebo. Elo tulefa kupanga private public partnership. Elo akulo musebo alali pirisha umundu. We have to measure the value of the asset and the economic potential of the people around there to pay for it. Ngamwaya chita creative ya kumilengero ni kumushi abantu tabafala pa month end tabakwata ma payslip na kukwela pomoto kabakwela once in a while. First of all, ulia investor takapange profit in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah. So your private partnership ngamwaibika kuma infrastructure ya ifyo. Nishimwire temuma town fyesha part mulefa yo musebo ukufuma pakapiri. Ukuya pa Ndola. Mulefo kupanga kona imbi dual carriageway or musebo na umbi. So abantu balefo kubaparira fast track lane bala alipyanefo kuno twali kwa temisebo sho tulipira kuno bashita easy pass. Easy pass. Easy pass. But easy pass now bika mwaka pia kare mulengolesha pa musebo pala na bakugonga na mwaka pia. So emisebo kwali besha ifyo but no tukuya atwala ili emisebo mumishiawe. Tafya kabombe fyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. There is a Mwenda Kasomeno road, toll road, that Avena Chilangwa worked on. So what they are proposing is that it's going to cut down on trucks from Tanzania if they come and pass through Luapula, through Mwenda Kasama, and then they pass through Luapula to go to Lubumbashi. It's a toll road, but I think they have a different justification for it. They're saying that there are enough trucks that can pay, and that investor can make money.
Oh yeah, that is the thing. So Abubakuri trucks, those are commercial vehicles. They can afford that.
Right. Dr. Chanda.
I think first in my understanding, they first have to identify, like Wakasonso is saying, what is there, for example, what Kumilenge, what business or what potential is there, and then build the road. Because I think in China, that's what they've done. You know, when China started building up, each time they provided a road for a small community, they made sure that that community was producing something that was coming to the main China city. Whether it's food, whether it's, whatever product that they were producing, they made sure that they linked it to whatever they were developing. Otherwise, it would be a waste of money if you just build the road for the sake of the road, just because people, and then start charging people. People will get angry because they're now charging them for something that doesn't benefit them. But Ngamwasanga, it's okay. In community, we want to help them with their fishing industry. So you make sure that fishing industry is connected to the main cities in Zambia. So you provide that transport for them. So whatever they're doing is an income to the community as well. So it would benefit them. It would benefit the person who's providing the road and the community there.
So I think as for Milenge, as far as Milenge is concerned, I think the government should prioritize it, not to Perako, even if it's feeder roads. Now, when it comes to public-private partnerships, there is need for a feasibility study to see whether an investor can actually make money. But there is agric, and there is fish, agriculture, and manganese.
Yeah.
Because Luapula is going to be the next big thing as far as manganese is concerned. And so we are looking forward to all those economic opportunities.
Yeah. You know, Bamusha, when I was in Cuba, when I left Zambia, the mentality I had about a farm, because I lived in Zambia, was the massive, commercial farms like Galoon farms in Lusaka. That's what I knew as a commercial farm when I was growing up. So in my mind, somebody to produce something massive, they had to have a massive land and all these things. When I went to Cuba, my friends would invite me to their families. They had maybe a 1 hectare piece of land, but they contribute to the tobacco and cigar industry. The international cigars that are fantastic all over the world.
Yeah.
That family there with their little small land, they have their tobacco, and then that treat another family, they put them together and they sell their tobacco. That's how they do it even in China. You order clothes, some of them come from little houses, but those people group up together,
right,
and then sell to the majority. But in Zambia, we always want to first have massive things. You have a farm, you're thinking, oh, for me to develop, let's first have a farm with maybe 10 hectares, 20 hectares. If you have a 2 hectare or 3 hectare farm, it will be just land wasting because you think it's nothing. But other people in other countries, that 2 hectare
we
land,
begin doing with what we have.
we have to do with what we have.
You've touched on an important thing, and so apart from farming and entrepreneurship, but it's also about skills, because sometimes we Zambians limota tukwata a very healthy perspective on where we are at, just in terms of skills. And I think there's been a huge skill gap in Zambia after the demise of ZCCM, right? Because ZCCM at least was paying trades, was training trade people and stuff like that. After that, there was no systematic way of training artisans in our country. And so sometimes the lack of skills, like even tailoring, like how many tailors do we have at the moment with the requisite trained skill? How many welders, trained welders with a certificate? And so I have seen that the attention of the New Dawn government is on trying to revive the skills aspect, trades, and in fact, a huge portion of the 25 million per constituency is going to go to trades and skill training. That is pretty huge. I never thought of it like that, but it's quite huge, because then we are training skilled trades people for tomorrow. Be it agriculture, tailoring. I'm a tailoring, and I think Dr. Barbara is very right. All these things that we see coming from China, they come from small shops.
They just put them together.
They put them together and they live up to standards and they do it. And I think that's what Dr. Kasonso was talking about. Kachasu Dr. Chanda.
Definitely. I was even reading an article from 2001 when the people from Quito, my people, were trying to, campaign to legalize the brewing of Kachasu. The thing is that because Kachasu is historically a drink amongst the poor people, that's the reason it's been frowned upon. And then when we discuss about the dangers of alcohol, we focus on the people that we see. But theoretically speaking, Namma middle class, there's more dangers of Zambia. You go from work, you come home, you're chilling on Netflix with a glass of wine. You do it every day. A poor person may only just probably drink once a month when they have money. People from affluent families drink more than the poor people because they drink every day. There are homes where wine is drunk like water. Now, if you legalize the brewing of Kachasu, you also teach those people new skills. Like Wakasonto was saying, you have chemists. It's not just the alcohol. There are so many byproducts from this product of the alcohol itself. There's the alcohol, the drink. There's the alcohol that can be used in medical services for various purposes. There's the other alcohol that you can combine with something else to produce a medication, because all these are carbohydrates, etc., that you can narrow down if you have a proper production.
And fertilizer.
And fertilizer. Now, it's just the skills. Now, whatever you do illegally, from, in America, when there was that the prohibition of alcohol, people drank more alcohol then than when it became legalized. Anything that is illegal, people will drink it more because it's cheaper, it's done in backyard, there's no control. So if they legalize it, they'll understand and they can measure the product, they can give skills to these people that are producing these things. And then, just like Kachasu was saying, Zambians are still buying flavored alcohol from China. Strawberry alcohol, passion fruit alcohol, all these things. At the end of the day, they all contain alcohol. It's just a flavored drink with a nice bottle. So if a rich person is holding a nice tequila, it looks good, it looks bourgeois because this is a nice bottle. At the levels in the brain, the levels the brain is at the same point.
Yeah.
So if they give them skills, it will be good. The only problem is that the poor people are more visual to us. When they break down, when the society breaks down, when people are not going to school, we see them more than we see in bigger homes or social. Because when the people who live, for example, if somebody lives in Kablonga, you will not assume that there's a social breakdown, because you're only, in fact, in Zambia, people are in a fence, so you don't see them. You just assume everything is fantastic. Whereas in the morning, you see the kids drunk in the streets. You're more worried about these kids getting drunk in the morning.
Yeah.
Chances that the kids might never because there's no control. That's where they produce them. I was reading about Tambala was saying that you don't understand there's so much drugs amongst the poor people. The fact is the people supplying drugs and alcohol are actually the rich people. Those are the ones who can afford to do that. So they need to legalize this and then control it, put control measures in place.
All right, and that's your position regarding Lutuku.
That's the thing is, let me just ask, for example, what's the difference between Katata, Kachasu, Lutuku, name Benyon, all these Katata has been upgraded because it's a traditional drink that the Bembas drink in cultural productions, and Mumateveto Mashanashani nayo bwalwafye bumobwine chimu chinefe na Kachasu nomba iba ma kitchen party. That one has got more value, more affluence, because it's something that has been respected. Whereas the other cheap one, Lutuku, because it's brewed quickly in a very cheap way, using the cheapest products, it's frowned upon. Now, in reality, if you go to South Korea today, if you go to China, if you're a diplomat, they'll offer you their rice wine as a traditional drink. If they're doing a memorial, if you're doing whatever they're doing, it's brewed in the same way.
No, umunkoyo, it's there, but we can't really escape from the realities of the effects of uncontrolled Lutuku on society.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that they have to put control. They have to control. Yeah, they have to put control measures in place.
Yeah,
that's very important. Like going back to what the minister's done, I'm glad he's apologized and everything, because if we start, you can't whip people into normality. That's done in multi-sectarian countries. If you put regulations in place, like even Laura Miti was saying, take the communities, speak to them, make them understand where they're coming from. Because me, myself, my grandmother used to brew alcohol when her husband died. It was the cheapest thing to do because she had no money. According to my father, even the poor people in Kasama were feeling sorry for them. So somebody told her that if you're not going to die of hunger, if you're not going to die if your kids will not die, you need to use your common sense. Somebody told her that the quickest thing you can sell that people can buy is beer.
So
my father never drank beer in his life. They hated it because they saw the effects of it growing up, because they sold it. But they did it because that was their only option. And like that same grandmother of mine, that woman is probably the same. She's got no other option. So we have to give them options in order to bring up their kids. If you tell them stop, then what are they going to do? There's no social services, there's no anything else.
Dr. Barbara, no, I think I agree with you. The only caution is the use of the justification that we need to provide an alternative before we make something illegal. Right?
The problem is
and the reason why the major issue with Lutuku, it's easy to make and very easy for society to access. And with that comes access to families and to children. You've spoken about your dad was exposed to it. I was exposed to it as well. Grade 7 and grade 8, I was exposed to a home where we were making Kachasu, and I don't drink. But it does have an effect, definitely. And so what we say here is important, and it is understood by many people in Zambia. If we said that the only issue is legalization, unfortunately, I foresee a situation where somebody will continue brewing and continue justifying it to say that it's because I need it to raise my children or something.
The problem is that, Munshya, when us who are talking from a position of comfort, who have options of what we can do, it's very easy for example, it's very easy for me to say you can do something else. For somebody who doesn't have that something else, because it's about the skills that they have. Most of these people came from those, it's like a generational thing. The people maybe before them, the only thing they knew was brewing that same thing. So if we teach them to do something else that they can do in place of that, then fine. If we don't teach them and allow them to do something else, then what are they going to do? They'll become thieves. They'll start stealing from the same people who are stopping them. They'll become angry because they're seeing, the social divide in any society is so high, especially at the moment, whether it's in England or Africa. People who are poor are angry because they're seeing other people having so much compared to what they have. And that's why they're becoming criminals. That's why they're becoming angry. That's why they feel frustrated. That is why there's an outcry if a poor person is shouted at, because you feel for them. You genuinely feel for them because you know that they're trying. They're actually, if you look at the cost of living now, you think, oh, I've got money, I've only got one child. And sometimes I feel the pinch. Now imagine somebody, they don't work, they don't have money, they're in an economy where there's nothing. We have to find something for them in order to support them.
Padre, Don Oscar.
Buonasera. Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the beautiful program. I'm happy that you have allowed me to be part of this platform, especially on this key event which had occurred in Lusaka with our minister Gary Kombo. Munshya, I'm in Italy since 1995, and actually I'm trying to know even the tradition, the Italian tradition. So I was thinking of what happened, and the question regarding Lutuku, Zambia. You can imagine Australia. I'm afraid ndimbitapali ba Australia. Australia ba Munshya bali panga Lutuku. Bali panga baitati Lutuku.
Also there, people are mentioning Australia. Australia.
Bali panga Lutuku. Bali panga.
It's not about you. Ndela ndafia konsoko na amona Australia. Even wars are starting somewhere on social media over Australia.
Okay.
Australia. So
bali panga Lutuku, and they have done everything professionally, and they sell it. Here in Italy we have something which is called grappa. Italian grappa is nothing other than lutuku. Same process, but there are conditions and the health to respect health, the way they produce it and the ambient where it's supposed to be produced. But the method is the same. Grappa, Italian grappa. Google it, Mr. Dr. Munshya. You find that it's so. What should I say? Zambia, I think we need to legalize it, and we need to find ways to make it professional. Right. It's not a question of abantu kuno bamunsha abantu bakalanwa lutuku bakalanwa balenwa na ife twalinwa kwa kale bamunsha na tune ali tako lutuku ngekine chachine defo kulande chi
now na tesa inite tinkane na itese
umurume wako lutuku nebo nshimufwaya
no mbotu no lutuku ubwati bwabe na Zambia nga bayisule botolo bafwayo okupwisha bwafya bwabapo grappa nikala ka tot tubaketa tika tot kanono nga walya bamunsha mfweni no mbalekeni myewe ka story kasuma sana mwalishi baba pangire lutuku muno mu Europe munani kane mu Western world monks bamunsha ni bakatolika abapatiri
Iya chiriagwa radio sedi bakatolika
abakatolika na tubatotereko
bapangire monks ninshi bapangire grappa ninshi tureyipusha irianshita mu medieval abantu takwali medicine ba Dr. Barbara takwali medicine mu monasteries takwali medicine. So when they had yes ngabalia ama monks ngabalia balenwa ka tot of lutuku so that na ne fyonse fyali mu mala fyale pya ne nani kane ne myambo shonse shapya.
Anyway, I think there is very good reason here, however, there must be a way to regulate it, and I hope that we are going to find a way. But it still remains illegal in Zambia, and we are not going to encourage any of our people in Zambia to brew lutuku. And the major reason is because it's illicit, it's unregulated. If you're lenwa ebwafye mwamona tetupime bwino but narinwa kwena narinwa polu mlandu wapangana napo nareika lapo valensunga and it helped a lot. Abalulu.
Hello, my voice is not very good. Mutostwani.
Hande.
Ensha, I'm Lulu from My voice is not so good. I'm in Sweden and it's a bit cold, so I have a cold.
Yeah. We've spoken about several things today. Do you have any contribution?
Yes, it's quite interesting. I heard about the Kachasu issue going on, and it was quite unfortunate that it happened that way. And I'm happy that the minister has apologized, really. But at the same time, I feel like I've heard a lot of stories about the junks and the young people drinking alcohol instead of being in school. And it has been disturbing me a lot because I expected, now that there's free education back home, people will be in school. But they are not in school. Instead, they are busy drinking, and it's hurting to see young people drinking and wasting their lives.